Good morning, everybody. My name is Cynthia Wheeler, and today is January 5th, 2016. I'm going to do a video today about court transcripts, what they are, and why they're important. If I seem a little bit rushed, I'm trying to cram a lot of information into 15 minutes because I think YouTube limits us to 15 minutes per video. What I'm going to do, I'm going to slow some concepts down so that everybody can understand them. It's like in football, and I hate football. If you see my Facebook, you know I hate football. When they do the replays, they think the play was one thing, but when they go and look slowly, they find that it was another thing. And that is how we have to begin to think about court and all of the things that are involved in family courts. We have to slow it down and ask questions. I was following the Simone case out of Oakland County, Michigan. And that case was kept alive basically because of social media. And if you pooch around Facebook, you'll see a lot of posts about that case. One thing about that case, people kept stating in different blogs here and through other venues on Facebook and other places, that the transcripts say this, the transcripts say that. Well, what they posted weren't transcripts. They were judges' orders, motions, and things of that nature. Those are not transcripts. Transcripts are word for word accounting of what was testified to in the hearing. Everything the judge says, the person says, or whoever, word for word. Most family hearings aren't recorded and aren't required to be recorded by law. Stop for a minute and think. That is a red flag. Why wouldn't a judge want an accurate reflection of a hearing? The entire basis of the appeal process cannot happen without transcripts. So if there's no accuracy, if there are no transcripts, you don't know what was testified to 3 months prior. The only thing you have is the judge's opinion, and all judges aren't honorable. It is a judge's discretion in most states and courts to record family hearings. Most judges don't. Ask yourself why. The most violations to our civil rights take place in family court. Criminal hearings are required to be recorded by law and have transcripts available if necessary because it preserves and ensures that the persons accused of a crime rights weren't violated and that they had a proper and fair trial. What protections do family cases have? Because family cases have the same needs to have their civil rights preserved and to have a fair trial. So, question that we need to ask ourselves: why don't courts record family hearings? Tape recorders have been around for decades. It costs pennies. And the first thing the judges or people that work within the system say, who's going to pay for it? The reality is, and I'll talk about my state, Florida. Florida brings in over $50 million a year just from divorce court filings and child support filings. 50 million. That is enough to pay for any recording that is done. So let's get that out of the way. I want to talk about transcripts and what they can do and how you need to have transcripts available. Advocating for our legislators to make mandatory recording of family hearings is very important, and we need every person in every state to start this year contacting their state legislators and asking them to sponsor a bill to make it mandatory to record family hearings in their entirety. Because to have a court reporter appear to a 5-minute hearing, the price is about $85 where I am from. For a 3-hour hearing, it's $250. Now, if you go to the hearing and it's canceled, you still have to pay. That does not include the transcribing fee. A 3-hour hearing can cost about $1,000 to have transcribed. So, an option that's not really realistic is not an option. If your household income is $2,000 a month, what is the likelihood you're going to pay $1,000 a month to obtain transcripts? Courtrooms, many of them use audio and video, and it really costs nothing. If someone requests a copy or transcripts, the person requesting the transcripts pays the entire fee, and it's about a third of the cost, 25 to 33% of the cost, as to obtain transcripts through a private court reporter. These are transcripts. You can't see this, but my hearing was a family case, and it was accidentally recorded because I'm from a small town, and they just simply forgot to turn off the recording devices. So I do have some, but it was an accident, not on purpose. And I want to illustrate what having a transcript does and why it is in everyone's best interest to have a court reporter present at every hearing. I'ma just say it straight up. Judges bitch up and put on their best behavior when they know someone is memorializing their words and what happens in a case. And they bitch up even more with video and audio recordings. So this here is a final order of paternity in my case. You can't see it, and I'm going to do my best to upload it as an attachment and make it available. I only put these things available because I don't ask people to take my word. I have documentation for everything, and I make it available. And if judges were as sure of their actions and ethical, they wouldn't care either. But this order of paternity, this final judgment of paternity was done on May 16th, 2014. My attorney filed an motion for clarification and rehearing because of things contained in the final judgment of paternity. I will also upload that for you so you can see it too. As a result of her filing that, the judge created or completed an amended final judgment of paternity. The reason the judge amended his order is only because I had a court reporter present and he knows it. Otherwise, what was testified to in the hearing would have been in the air because no one could prove yay or nay what was said. There were several errors within the original final judgment of paternity, and the judge partially corrected some of them in the amended final judgment. Had I not had a court reporter present, I would have been stuck with the original final judgment of paternity. And I want to say there are about 4 or 5 errors within this. And there are still errors today. I just ran out of money to litigate for them. And I wouldn't have received that. And some people are going to look at me and try to judge me. My child support order went from about $785 or something to about $1181. The reason I don't know the exact amount is because I don't get it. So I haven't really worried about remembering the amount because I don't get it. So having an order of child support and receiving child support are 2 different things, not the same. But this judge made about 4 or 5 errors within one case. I'm not a rich bitch. I'm not super important. I'm a registered nurse, single mother of 4. And if he made this many mistakes in one case, what is his quality of work in other cases? And what are orders other people are stuck with as a result of not having a court reporter present? And that is why it's important to have a court reporter at every hearing. You can't say there was a mistake in what was testified to if you don't have a transcript. So that's why I want us to get on with the business of doing a major movement across the United States to get our individual state legislators to sponsor a bill and pass a law making it mandatory to record all family hearings in their entirety. And if they try to say, well, how is it going to be paid for? They can charge a $5 fee to cover anything. When I got these hearings through the court system, the court, it cost me $15 to obtain a DVD. And I had 3 transcripts done. And they were, for all of the hearings, they were about 3 hours in length, a combination. And it cost me about $300. The one hearing that was 3 hours in length, that I used a private court reporter for, cost $250 to appear and about $900 to have transcribed. I didn't have to have it transcribed because the judge knew it and he went and corrected his order. If he would have been resistant to it, then I would have paid it. But he knew what was testified to. Red flag, red flag. And the one thing about the Simone case, and everybody asking about transcripts and saying what was transcripts, is that, to my knowledge, I haven't been able to find actual transcripts. They may exist, I just may not have found them. But what it causes us to question, if do judges know the law, or are they circumventing the law? Judges don't get to not go by the law because they don't like what the law says, or maybe some internal bias is, or prior relationships with attorneys, or whatever reason they do. They don't get to make up the law as they go. And because our lack of recording and family hearings, that is what happens. Now, we have a couple of different type things that take place. We have federal laws and we have state laws. State laws are passed every year. Every year we get new state laws. Every year we make amendments to old state laws. So the quickest and easiest route to begin to make it mandatory to record family hearings is to go through your state legislators, because it's each state's individual right to do it. Hopefully we can get on board and get a federal order requiring it, but at this point I think that would take a longer time. But I do want to get on it, but to get the quickest remedy, we should try our state legislators. And at this point, I have my state legislator, and he told me that he was going to sponsor a bill. So I'm just waiting to see it. He told me it was sent to drafting on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And everybody told me, oh, it's not going to happen. You need a lobbyist. You need to have monies and this and that. I went to some organizations that are supposed to be representative of people to ask for help in contacting the legislators throughout the state. And that's what I got. But I do have a legislator that is going to sponsor the bill, or at least he told me he was. So I'm waiting to see it. It's supposedly gone to draft, and I'm waiting to see it posted. And that is huge within itself. And that cost me a year of time calling. Now, if I can do that in a year, what can multiple people contacting their district legislators do? It's not impossible. Now, for 2016, the state of Florida, you cannot submit any new bills. But what we can do in 2016 for other states is start working now so they can put it in for 2017. And they say the wheels of justice turn slowly, but they only turn slowly because there is one person slaving away. We get 1,000 people doing it and working on it, they're gonna turn faster than the speed of light. So let's get on with the business of correcting that and ensuring that we have transcripts in these cases. And because I'm going to be petty now and I got all the information out, I want to show you what transcripts do. The Simone case, that Judge Gorsuch, refused to recuse herself. It is a judge's option to recuse themselves, and the majority of the time it does happen. Because of social media, this case, the Simone case, has been kept in the limelight through a social media campaign. That judge was forced to step down off that case. That rarely ever happens, but it's a frequent thing that occurs in a lot of cases. I feel like the only thing that made this judge, made the power up, make this judge step down, is the intense public pressure. And that is what they do. Well, I'm going to talk about my judge, Judge Charles Burton. And these are the transcripts from my case. After I got this amended final judgment of paternity, he still did some bullshit he wasn't supposed to do. But I did not have money to keep going back to court for it over and over. An attorney costs $350 an hour. I'm a single mother of 4. I don't have $350 an hour because judges want to play these games. So what I did was I came back through a pro se motion a few months later, and I asked the court, the judge, to produce the net income calculations that he utilized to calculate child support. Because I had a court reporter present, when I first entered the hearing, the judge asked me, before we went on the record, he asked me, did I want him to recuse himself? I said no. So when we went on the record, he asked me what I was there for, and I explained I wanted him to produce the net income calculations utilized to calculate child support. That would be step A. It should be part of the court's records. My net income calculations are part of the court's record. It's a requirement under Florida law, family rules of procedure. The father's isn't. The judge calculated the father's net income. It should be in the record. He refused to produce them, and he recused himself because I had a court reporter present. He essentially exercised his right to remain silent because he knew he circumvented the law and committed a dishonorable act. Now, what the JQC have to say about that, I can't say if I filed a complaint because they don't allow that, but I can say you do not see any complaint for Judge Charles E. Burton at Florida's Judicial Qualifications Commission website. And another thing about this judge, there was a case in which one of the people referred to him as racist or something similar. He would not recuse himself. So a judge hardly ever voluntarily recuses themselves. So why is this judge so quick to want to recuse himself? Because he has something to hide. And that is what transcripts do. So let's get the conversations going. Please post questions. Let's begin to have a dialogue. If you don't understand something, I am me. Put it in the questions, post it on the page, and we can begin to explain it, because it's very important that we understand the steps before we can begin to correct them. And the courts have us under the impression that it's really complicated, and it's really not that complicated. So I will see you all later, and I'm going to do my best when I post this on Facebook to post the attachments so that you can read for yourself. I don't expect anybody to read through this bullshit because you got better things to do, but I just want people to not accept my word for it, to read for themselves. And a lot of times we accept people's assertions without confirmation or without taking the time to verify the truthfulness of their statements. And if you are honest and upfront, you do not have a problem with it. Because if somebody came to me and said your calculation was wrong and I think you did it intentionally, nothing could stop me from saying, here you go, Miss Wheeler, you have what you came for. My calculations are correct. Please leave my courtroom, or something similar. The fact he didn't do that is a red flag. And I ask you all to just think. Don't take into account all this legal mumbo jumbo and big fancy words they use to try to make things convoluted and overcomplicated. Keep it simple, stupid. Common sense. And in the courts, they call it reasonable. And is it reasonable that a judge that calculated child support and has done multiple calculations does not know the law, and a document that should be in the court's record isn't there? When this judge recused himself, they were supposed to reassign my petition or motion. It has yet to be reassigned, and that I think was on November 6, 2014. I'm still waiting. The court, I've asked, and they still haven't set it, a court date. And why wouldn't the court? Does the court have clean hands? No. So, come on, let's do this.